Hello, art enthusiasts, and welcome back to Behind the Bower. Our show brings you inspiring conversations, a fresh look at arts in our community, and spotlights on artists, performers, educators, and organizations that enrich our cultural landscape. We celebrate the universal expression of human experiences through arts, culture, and our community. And today we're thrilled to shine a spotlight on our 11th annual Curry Bower exhibition. It's an all-media judged exhibit that honors Edna Curry and Dr. John Bower, the founding benefactors of Bower Center for the Arts. Our exhibition showcases a diverse array of artworks from talented artists across the region and beyond, reflecting the vibrant creativity within our community. Joining me this morning is our esteemed artist and sculptor, Linda Atkinson. She's taken on the pivotal role of the judge for this year's exhibition. Her artistic journey is both profound and inspiring. As a Virginia native, she resides in Botetourt County, earned her BFA in sculpture from Virginia Commonwealth University, and her work has graced museums and galleries in Los Angeles, San Francisco, Chicago, New York, and Atlanta. And beyond her personal creations, Linda imparts her knowledge as an art history instructor at Virginia Western Community College for 21 years and taught at other institutions like the University of California at Santa Cruz, Hollins College, Roanoke College, and Radford University. In this episode, we are looking forward to talking with Linda about her artistic philosophy, experiences in the art world, insights into the selection process or the judging of the Curry Bower exhibition, and also explore the significance of this exhibit in fostering artistic expression within our community. So we hope you've got your cup of coffee, you'll settle in and join us as we embark on this artistic journey with Linda. Welcome, Linda.
Thank you. Welcome. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for joining us this morning. We always like to start out by having our guests share a little bit about themselves with our listeners. So I'm going to turn it over to you and let you just tell a little bit about yourself.
All right. I'd be happy to.
Thanks.
I was born in Roanoke, so I'm a native here. I decided quite early that I was an artist. In fact, I don't even know that it was something I necessarily decided. It was just something that I did from a very young age. And I pretty much by the time I reached high school, I considered myself a professional artist, which might have been a bit of a stretch at that point. But that's how I approached art and how I approached my own development as an artist.
I really enjoyed reading some of the information that you provided me, and you talked about yourself and said that, at a young age, you were conducting art classes in the attic for your younger sisters. Is that kind of where it started for you?
Well, it was a way to kind of make sure that I got some time, as an artist. I think art is kind of a selfish activity sometimes. Teaching my sisters was kind of a way of bossing them around. But my dad brought home drawing materials for us. He worked at Double Envelope Corporation.
Okay.
And the end rolls of the paper will pretty much go to waste. So he brought paper home for us. And I had a great aunt and uncle who worked for the school system. At the end of the year, they collected art materials such as crayons and paints and so on for us kids.
Right.
But as far as teaching, that wasn't anything that I really truly considered until I was ready to graduate from college at VCU in Richmond.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd thought about going to to New York City and to embark upon a professional art career. And my professors, however, they convinced me, well, you should go on to graduate school because you'll be able to teach. That'll give you an option of some employment after college.
Right.
I have 2 degrees in sculpture, which is kind of useless, except unless I wanted to teach. But it was sort of shows the path that I was very focused on, which was being an artist. And once I learned sculpture or discovered sculpture, I realized that that's the way I really wanted to go.
Right, right. So when you finished school, I know that in the opening and some of the background that I read that your work has been in a lot of wonderful museums and galleries. Did you focus on your art to begin with, or did you go right into teaching?
I always focused on my art. As far as teaching, I feel like that the art always preceded the teaching. You know, to get a teaching job, you need to present the art department with your work and evidence of what kind of artist you are.
Right.
And I believe that I always, on my merits as an artist, was invited to teach. I consider myself more of an artist in residence or an artist, guest artist in these situations, rather than as a teacher. I never really considered a full-time teaching, job.
Right.
So I consider myself more of an artist than as a teacher.
Right.
But even though I've taught for many years, I was very fortunate to be offered the job that I was. The teaching, the art history was a real blessing for me. At Virginia Western, I was given the course of teaching art history from Paleolithic art till basically today.
Wow.
So it was the full realm. And not initially it was a Western art, but in the last couple of years it was a global art. So it covered quite a span of art.
Right.
And I think that's really informed me as an not only as an artist but as a judge.
Right.
I've looked at a lot of art. I've studied a lot of art.
Mm-hmm.
So that's been a real journey for me.
Right. What would you say are your sources of inspiration for your sculpture work?
This is going to sound kind of weird, but basically myself. I mean, oftentimes I'll get an image or I'll have an idea that would be of something that I'd like to make. I consider myself an object maker.
Mm-hmm.
And oftentimes the idea behind the artwork would come to me as I was making it.
Right.
And from there, oftentimes I was able to sort of have a vision of a whole body of work. I've often thought of, I don't make just one thing, like one painting and then one sculpture. I tend to think in terms of a series. So I make one artwork, one sculpture, and oftentimes what follows is sort of a follow up on that one piece. It takes off into a direction
Right.
that interests me.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Is there any, tell us a little bit about your process for creating a piece of sculpture or a piece of your artwork.
Well, I'll tell you about the most recent body of work that I've been involved in,
Okay.
which has been a lot of fun. I'm a woodworker. I've worked a lot in wood. And over the years, I've collected big plastic tubs of wood scraps. I have two fireplaces, and so it has sort of a dual purpose for me, thinking in terms of firewood as well as something that I could use for sculpture.
Right.
I found that I was really unable to burn any of the work because as I would go through the tubs, I would see, oh, this is interesting. I think I know I could do something with that.
Yeah.
But with this last body of work, basically, I took out all the scraps of work that wood that I had, or many of them, and spread them out on the floor. I got some wood dyes, water-based wood dyes, and began to paint. Some of them red, some of them blue, some of them yellow, some of them purple. All these scraps of wood.
Mm-hmm.
And what I was interested in was not only the color, but the grain of the wood coming through in the background. It was repurposed wood, so that I kept rough edges and funny shapes and all kinds of things that sort of announced it as this is repurposed wood. It's a cast off. It's been put into this art piece.
Right.
And so it's been really fun just to totally fill my studio with all this wood. It's scattered all over the floor. The process is I'm picking up pieces. I'm trying this, that, and the other. I tend to work on 3 or 4 pieces at a time. And so it's a very physical activity, but it's a lot of fun.
Right.
I get totally immersed in it.
That's awesome. Are there, what do you just work in various sizes of pieces of sculpture, or, do you keep them smaller, or, is it just whatever comes to you?
In the past, I would say up until maybe 15 years ago, I always worked life size. I felt like that was an area in sculpture that I was most comfortable with. These were large scale works, took a lot of time. My husband at that time kept saying to me, "You should make smaller pieces. You should make, have more of an array there." And I just, it was hard for me to convince anybody, including myself, that I could make small pieces that had any kind of impact.
Right.
At that time, soon after, I was teaching at the University of California, Santa Cruz, and my first classes were in the wood shop. And before I started the class, the head of the department said, "Gee, do you have a fireplace? Would you like some wood?" and I came home from work. I had another job at the time in addition. I came home from work, and here I found a whole load full of wood dumped in my driveway, a big, huge mountain of wood, all different kinds, all different sizes and so on. And I thought, boy, I can't burn this. And so I began making some sculptures similar to the ones that I'm doing today in terms of the process.
Right.
And then with those pieces, I was fortunate enough to have my first show, my first solo show in San Francisco. And about half of those works sold out, and they were all small. So my husband got a little bit of a nod to being having a good idea at that point.
So he was right, unfortunately, that people wanted small pieces they could take home.
He was right. Yes, exactly.
Oh, that's funny.
Well,
go ahead.
The thing about sculpture, it has to have a place in your home. And I think for a lot of people, it's hard to envision sculpture in their home. And it's one reason I think that painting, two-dimensional work, sells better, for example, than sculpture.
Mm-hmm.
And people are more comfortable finding spaces in their homes for two-dimensional work. So that's been kind of a challenge as well.
Right. Do you ever create anything, and I'm not sure if this is the correct word, that's more functional, that, could be used in some way, shape, or form, that's larger, or no?
No, not really.
Okay.
Not on purpose.
Right.
I did a body of work when I was out in California, of these large-scale trellises, just as you would have a garden trellis in your yard that might have bougainvillea on it or roses or something. But I took garden trellises and I handmade vines and flowers climbing over it. I made them out of plaster bandages that were bandages just like medical bandages if you break your arm, that sort of thing. You dip them in water and they would harden up. And so then I would paint the whole thing as if it was a flat painting. I would paint in the shadows. I would paint the reflections on the leaves, the light hitting the blooms and so on. And so I was really interested in making basically a sculpture of a painting.
Right.
And so I showed these works in Los Angeles, and I got a review in the Hollywood Reporter.
Wow.
And the gallery director said, "Gee, these would make wonderful screens for the house, and I was thinking, not really, no. But that was the only time that I was sort of informed that there might be some kind of a practical or functional aspect of my work, and I hadn't really thought of it, and frankly, at that point, I pretty much disagreed that was the case.
Right. I guess
offended by it.
I'm sure. But I guess that everybody, views art differently, as we know. And so that's just kind of the way that individual viewed it.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, my view of art is, I think of enchantment. The fact, there was something that I read not too long ago that the artist's purpose is to bring back that sense of enchantment that we have as human beings.
Mm-hmm.
The aspect to be surprised, to be delighted by something that we see.
Right.
And I think that art can certainly fill this role for us.
Yes, definitely. Well, it's interesting that you said that, because I want to kind of transition over to talk a little bit about your judging of the Curry Bauer exhibit. And I think that our listeners would be very surprised or delighted as they came in to view this show. There are 163 artworks by 59 artists currently on display in our adult division. And then we also have a youth division as a part of this exhibition, which showcases 26 artworks by 9 students from around the region. Tell us a little bit about what your thoughts were when you visited the exhibit.
I thought that the diversity was wonderful. I'm always, when I came back from California after being there for 25 years, back to Roanoke, initially I had some kind of trepidation. Oh dear, I'm sort of moving back here in time. But what I found was coming back to this area that I was amazed at the art, the quality of the art, and the richness of the type of different types of art and the medias and so on. And the Bauer exhibit certainly reflected that diversity and that quality of work that I'm really proud of for this area.
Mm-hmm.
I think that we have artists here that are acceptable. Here's the word.
Yeah.
But I was very impressed by the total exhibition, both the adult and the student work.
Right. So you were responsible for judging the exhibit. Tell a little bit about what your process is when you're viewing an exhibit this large and having to, pick out which ones you consider are winners for the awards. What does that process look like, and how did that work for you?
For me, I like to take kind of a quick spin around the show. For the thing that I find about art that is so amazing is that the sort of magical quality that art has. Some things just simply leap off of the wall at you, and those are the pieces that I've made sort of a mental note about.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, the choices were kind of obvious, and then I need to go back and sort of check myself, recheck. I try to look at and try to sort of distinguish what it is that prompted me to choose that piece or to be delighted by that piece.
Right.
A lot of times, the answer is, if I knew how to say it, I wouldn't have painted it. I'm making something here.
Right.
That's beyond words. Yes.
Right. Yeah.
So sometimes it's difficult to kind of pull words out of art. That's part of my teaching experience. But so for me, though, the initial response is how the piece is hits right away, almost right away.
Mm-hmm.
It's an initial response to it. It could be a response to the media, to the subject matter. On the other hand, abstract works are just as can be just as magical for me. So it's sort of a whole realm of things that I look at, or basically that I feel.
Right.
It's an emotional response.
What were your thoughts that we added the youth division to this exhibition? I think we're in about our third year with the youth entries. What were your thoughts on the work of the students from around this area?
Well, one thing that I was really taken with was the fact that some of the strongest pieces in the youth division were photographs, which I think is kind of interesting. Photography is sort of lagged behind painting and sculpture and other art forms as far as being considered fine art.
Right.
And I felt that the students that did approach the artwork that they were doing with photography, I found that was quite advanced. And I was very impressed with that. The other medias are also have there was pieces there that had immediate impact, and some that I had to look at a little more closely and think about. But I think that having a youth division is very important in an exhibition such as this, because I know for myself, that's when I started really considering art seriously. The part of my art was, or part of my life was as a youth.
Right. Yeah, we really love working with the youth in our community, and we do work closely with the public schools here in Bedford County and host their annual art shows. And we've mentioned in past podcasts about how amazing the work is, and what the students are presenting around here is just really, really wonderful to see, and that there is still a good focus on the arts in the schools in this area, which we're really happy to see.
Right. That's important.
It just definitely
is. Yeah.
As we're getting ready to wrap up, are there any upcoming projects for you personally that you'd like to share with our listeners?
Yes. One thing I've been involved with for the last, I don't know how many years, over 10, I guess, is the Open Studios Roanoke. And that's going to be held the last weekend of April. And this year there's 43 artists, which is amazing.
Wow.
I forget how many venues, but basically at least 2 or 3 artists have banded together at each venue. So, for example, I'm showing downtown on First. It's on First Street with 3 other artists. But this is something I've been working towards for the last 6 months. And these last few months, it kind of gets down to the wire. But it's good for an artist to have a focus of something to pursue. And this is certainly, even though it's just a weekend show,
right,
it's quite a big deal. Yeah.
Right.
Last year, I know that easily we had over 300 visitors to Ann Glover's house, who she was the host artist. And it was just great to have that many people come in and see the work.
Right.
In that short period of time. Yeah.
Awesome. That's such a great opportunity. Yes, definitely. Well, I really appreciate you joining me this morning. That kind of wraps up our episode this week. Linda, thank you for sharing your insights and your artistic journey. This exhibition is really a true celebration of creativity, honoring the legacy of Edna Curry and Dr. John Bauer. It showcases the incredible talent in our community and beyond. If you haven't checked it out, the exhibit runs until the end of the month, and we hope that you'll join us in person this Friday, March 14th, for the exhibit awards reception. It's from 5 to 7. It's open to the community. You can enjoy light refreshments. We'll have some live music. You can meet some of the artists. And more importantly, you'll hear from Linda as she announces the winning works of art for both the adult and the youth divisions. So we're very excited about that. As always, thanks to our listeners for tuning in. We love bringing you conversations and celebrating the universal expression of human experiences through arts and culture. And we hope that you'll continue to listen. You'll visit our website at bowercenter.org for all of our upcoming programs and events. And until next time, keep creating, keep exploring, and keep celebrating the arts. We'll see you soon on Behind the Bower.